How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Mentor Monday. Mentor Monday is your weekly microdose of encouragement, inspiration, and miracle grow on your potential as a coach. Do me a huge favor. If you've never joined us before, or if you have joined us before, let me know that you are here. Jump inside the chat. Tell us where you're joining us from. Also, feel free to post a link to your website, a link to your social media. If you're already getting your coaching practice up and going, I know there's a lot of you that join us because you're still learning. But you're already up and going to some level. So you've got a link to your social media, your website, your course, or anything that you're building out. Feel free to put it in there. If you get a client out of this, that would be amazing. And so if you've never joined us before, we have a forward mission statement at Life Coach Training Institute. It is proficient coaches. So everything that we do is unto you growing in your proficiency as a coach. But we don't just stop there, because that's only half of what I really believe coach training schools should actually be doing. And really, that means that most coach training schools are leaving a lot on the table with regard to helping coaches break into the industry. The other half is thriving practices. We want you to be successful as a business person. That way you can leave that 9 to 5 and actually coach full time. Wouldn't that be amazing? Wouldn't it be amazing just to get paid to do what you love instead of doing what you love kind of part-time or on the side or not getting paid for it at all? That'd be amazing. I think that you can have both. I think you can live into your purpose while at the same time be able to be generous to your family and all those other things. Hey, anyway, jump inside of the chat and say hello to me. Again, post where you're joining us from, and also post a link to your website, your social media, and everything else. Even if it's just in the beginning stages of getting going, we would love to see that. Karen's done it. She's joining us from Georgia. That's her website, mydivinefreedom.com. Make sure you check out Karen. Karen, let us know who it is that you help so that we can get you connected to who your ideal client is. That is Dan from Elevation Life Coaching for Men. That's his website, elevationlifecoachingformen.com. That's really simple to remember, isn't it? Anthony saying hello, joining us from Oklahoma. I'm on my journey to obtaining my life coach certification. Thank you for all your help, Paul. You're welcome, Anthony. Karen also has her Facebook link, which is facebook.com/divinefreedom2. That's the number 2. Sharon saying hello. Still working on certification. I'm excited. I'm close. Congratulations, Sharon. That's awesome. Sharon's joining us from Jacksonville. Awesome. Anybody else, if you would, jump inside the chat and let us know that you are here. Tell us where you're joining us from, who your ideal client is, and also put a link to your social media or your website. If you already have those things up and going, go ahead and share that. That way, if somebody runs across this and it is your ideal client, it would be great for them to find you. You know, they may not find you while we're alive in this moment. They might find you later on. You know, a lot of the topics that we cover on Mondays, helping coaches, a lot of people, your future clients, are looking for these particular issues, looking for help. And so a lot of times they'll run across these videos and they might run into you as a result of it. So here's the thing, is that we've been in this series, and one of the things that I always try to do with Monday nights, if we're not talking about how you can get more clients, we're talking about the challenges that you're going to be experiencing with your clients. You know, when it comes to coach training, there's only so much that we can do inside of a life coach certification course or even in an advanced skills program or something like that. A lot of times there's these key issues that you really can't cover, these specialty niche kinds of topics. So what I do a lot of times, I'll do these Monday nights and we will go after these very current, very relevant issues, things that you're going to run into at a certain point. And Mondays allows me to close the gap on some of these things and give you some specific tools to be able to help you with that. And so we've been in this series right now called Coaching Through Life's Pressure Points. But what I'm going to do really quickly is that I want you to be able to get the slides. One of the things that I do, the slides always look beautiful, everybody, you know, from a design perspective, but the content in it, a lot of times people are trying to take a bunch of notes. They're trying to write things down and everything else, and it's a little bit hard to do. So, and there's Suzanne joining us from the Palm Desert, still working on certification, and love these training sessions. It's awesome. So as we give you tools each week, because what I do is I give you coaching questions. I show you how to coach these particular issues, but a lot of times you're not going to remember all these things. So just get the slides. Text the keyword slides to 833-258-7547. You're going to get a link texted to you. And what you do is you scroll to the bottom of that page. And then when you scroll to the bottom of that page, you'll be able to find a big green button where you can download the slides for this week. I'll give you about 10 seconds to do that. And then we are going to jump in. What are we talking about this week specifically? Well, the pressure point that we're talking about this week is about coaching perfectionism. And I have done various things on perfectionism. What I'm going to do this week is I'm going to deal with it in a little bit different angle. So you can go back in some of our YouTube videos and find me talking about perfectionism, maybe from a slightly different angle or whatever. But it was really important for me to hit this particular subject because perfectionism is its own pressure point. But the challenge is, I think, for most people and most coaches, is they don't really understand what the root of perfectionism is. And I think what a lot of people think is perfectionism is people who have really, really, really high standards of things. And so thus they are a perfectionist. And so here's the thing is that having high standards is not a bad thing. Having excellent standards is really, really an awesome thing. But there's a difference between perfectionism and having excellence in terms of your standards. And here's what I mean by that. When it comes to excellence, that means that we get it to a really high standard. It looks amazing, but excellence does not keep you from starting. And that's the big difference. Is that excellence at a certain point, you get it to a particular area because you're looking for something. Like you're looking for it to glisten in a certain way, to sound a certain way, to connect in a certain way. And from that standpoint, I would say literally everything that I've ever worked on in my life, including everything that we work on at Life Coach Training Institute, is always got a little bit of, some amplification here, some editing here, some things that I look at and I'm like, okay, things need to be adjusted here. And we're always in a process of learning, figuring out how we can do things better. That is what excellence looks like. But if I only stayed in the revision room, if I only stayed in editing mode, if what I have always stays in draft and it never gets out into the public eye, that is not excellence. And you would have never seen Life Coach Training Institute ever come to fruition if I would have been a perfectionist. And sometimes people will refer to themselves as perfectionists, but perfectionists at the end of the day really never start. They are forever in revision mode. They are forever in draft mode. And they don't really know because it's not really a standard of excellence that they are after. Now, one thing that I will say, I can go all the way back to 2014 when we started Life Coach Training Institute, and we do things so much better. I look at some of our old stuff that we used to do, and it's kind of cringy that I'm like, man, I thought that was good back then, but I don't really like that anymore. And then there's other things that you just change with time, and there's things that you used to like, and there's things that you actually change your mind about as you go along. That's growth, and that's also excellence, that hopefully things are improving and get better. Hopefully your iPhone that you have right now is better than the version. You're not dreaming about the iPhone that you had 6 years ago. And you're like, man, that was such a better phone. The camera was so much better back then. Nobody's saying that. You know why? Because excellence has continued to raise the bar and it's created a new standard. See, there's certain, even the speed of your phone, things that you used to have patience for, you don't have patience for anymore because you've seen what excellence does. It raises the standard and it's raised your expectation. And so you live differently. You live a more simplified life because everybody who's sitting here joining me on their phone, there was a day when you couldn't join by phone. There was a day not that long ago on the internet where this video would have to be in standard definition and it would be clunky. And we find when something's kind of clunky and the internet's not very fast, we're like, man, I don't have patience for that anymore. Why? Because excellence has created a standard. But excellence and perfectionism are not the same thing. How do we know? Because people stuck in perfectionism never actually start. And here's why. The root of perfectionism is that most people have actually learned early on. This is what most perfectionists actually learned early on, is that mistakes brought them pain. It caused them pain. It caused them to experience criticism. It caused them to experience disappointment. It caused them to experience rejection or embarrassment. And so what ends up happening is that perfectionists are actually not trying to be perfect because they have a high standard of excellence. They are actually trying to avoid possible pain in their life. And so they build an internal rule. If I can just do everything right, then I'm never going to have to feel that pain of disappointment again. I'll never have to deal with the pain of criticism. I'll never have to deal with the pain of rejection. I'll never have to deal with the pain of embarrassment. Here's the thing, is that you're never actually in your life, if you are moving and you are growing and you are doing anything new, if you are changing your life, even when you are improving your life for the better, people who love you today, even friends and family, no one is immune and no one can escape criticism, disappointment, rejection, or embarrassment. If there is any growth happening in you in your life, I guarantee you, you are experiencing these things. And if you are never experiencing these things, then my guess is that you stopped growing. You stopped doing hard things. You stopped putting yourself out there. You stopped transforming your life in some kind of way. Because every time you change your life, you will, as a moment of growth. When you go to the gym, have you ever seen anybody transform themselves or even lose 10 pounds? How did they lose it? And how did they grow? And how did they transform? Because they went into the gym and they actually had to experience resistance. They had to actually experience pain, and they had to reframe pain that it's actually helping them grow, and that pain equals growth, and that pain equals transformation, and pain gets me the pant size that I want at this stage of life, or whatever the fill in the blank is. But people who view pain as something that is destructive, that they'll never get over, or some people who will never start because they're so afraid of being rejected. I'll give you an example. There's so many coaches, and some of you are listening to me tonight. I guarantee it. Some of you are listening to me tonight, and you've had your stuff drawn up for a really long time. Some of you have had your website secretly somewhere and you haven't told anybody about it because you don't think that it's perfect enough. You don't think that it's right enough or whatever. And it's not because you have excellence in mind. You're so afraid of the fear of rejection. You're so afraid of somebody saying no. You're so afraid of not being as great as you wish that you were, or finding out that you're not as good as you thought. Here's the reality. Here's a reality check for all of us. None of us were as good as we thought that we were 25 years ago, or 20 years ago, or 15 years ago, or 10 years ago. When we were younger, we put ourselves out there a little bit more because we thought that we were better than what we were. But all of us, in any aspect of life. I was telling my wife this weekend, we were celebrating our anniversary. Oh, thank you. Happy anniversary. I know that's popping in there. But we celebrated our anniversary. We're now a quarter of a century in together, and we're still in love. And when we were talking about our life over the last 25 years, we were specifically talking about children. And I'm like, I look back and I'm like, when you look back and you're kind of like, what are the things that you really wish that you could change, if you could change something or whatever? And all of those things that I think about changing was all about who I was as a parent and how I perceived things at that time when I didn't show up in the form that I am as a dad these days. Like all of the things, all the parenting that I was leading by fear. And I was so afraid of sickness or getting something wrong or whatever. And so the thankful thing is that when I became a dad, I didn't get to quit. And I had to just go with what I have. See, that's the difference when it comes to a lot of the things that are in our hearts to do that are kind of like dreams and a vision for our life and ambitions and everything else. Like we haven't come to a commitment point on those in most cases, so it doesn't matter. But when you're a dad, you're kind of like, well, you're in because you got a child now, so you better figure it out. And thankfully, I figured it out. Not that I'm perfect, but I figured a lot of things out. And my kids love me, and I've got a great relationship with my children. It's amazing. I'm so thankful to God for my own transformation and my own getting out of my own way and my own getting out of fear and some of those other things. That's what happens, is that resistance and things that don't work and all of those things change you so that I am like, when I look today, I'm just like, man, I do wish my kids would have gotten the best version of me back then. Those are some of those things, but growth is what does it. Now, here's the thing, is that when you won't commit to the thing that's in your heart, because when you're a parent, you got to commit. You're like, you're in it. But when it comes to our dreams, we don't commit. And what it does is that it makes us seemingly avoid pain, avoid the criticism, avoid the disappointment, avoid the embarrassment. But literally, it's when you commit is when you actually open yourself up to transforming to be the person that it requires to do those kinds of things. So the rule of, if I can just do everything right, I'll never have to feel that again, that rule works for a while. It helps you perform and achieve and essentially stay out of trouble, because I'll tell you this, there is a way that you can manage your life where you never feel like you get exposed. You just do what you know how to do, and you always know that you're living in the safe zone, that you didn't hit the ceiling of your potential. Because you can keep doing that. Like some of you who are working jobs right now, some of you who have a certain level of relationship with your spouse or with your children or anything that actually matters to you in your life. You know, there's a way of cruising in life where you never deal with rejection, where you never really deal with failure, where you never really deal with pain. But it's not a very satisfying life. And this is what your clients are going to run into, is that when they're hiring you, they actually want something. I believe everybody who's watching me right now, you actually want something, but perfectionism is actually killing your dreams. See, it backfires at a certain point because nothing ever feels good enough. And that constant pressure never really shuts off. Uh-oh. So what is the impact of perfectionism? I guess I'll get to those bottom points in a second. Perfectionists don't rest. You know what they do? They redo. Some of you are working on your coaching practices. If you're stuck in this perfectionism loop, you redo, you review, you restart, and you overthink, and you never actually move forward. Because almost never really counts in your mind. And you spend hours reworking small things, and you're the only person who notices. That's the funny thing, is that nobody else is noticing. And perfectionists, people who are struggling with perfectionism, they freeze when something feels too big to get perfect. And they miss deadlines, not because they're lazy, but because they're scared it won't be flawless. They're not really chasing excellence. They're running from the feeling of being exposed or being not enough. Here's what perfectionism sounds like. If you're listening for it, listen to the language of perfectionism. It's not ready yet. I'll do it once I feel more prepared. I know it's good, but it could be better. Now, here's the thing. That's always the case for anything. Imagine, I've always used this example. Imagine if Apple every year decided, this upgrade, this new phone, it could be better. And it's not perfect enough. And so you know what we're going to do? We're not going to release a new phone this year. We're going to wait until next year when we feel like it's a little more perfect or whatever. Well, they would lose market share because everybody else is releasing a new phone. And there are geeks out there who know everything about the cameras, who know this camera is better. Every year, there's always a new camera. And it's always better. There's no telling what we'll be able to do. will probably be able to read through walls at a certain point, be able to zoom in on satellites or something like that, be able to discover, comets or something like that in the solar system through phones one day. But today we think that we actually have it pretty good. But if you don't get to a certain point where perfect would be amazing, but sometimes good enough is as far as you can actually go. If 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 Apple didn't choose good enough and start, even though it may not be perfect, let's say that we get 80% there, 90% there, they're going to lose market share. And you know what they do? It's inevitable that every time a new phone is released, there's always weird stuff that happens with the operating system and everything else. And you know what they do? They always roll out updates later on to fix those problems. They're not afraid of putting something out there because they also know that the criticism that they're going to get is actually going to help them grow. It's not sent to destroy them. Important point. A couple of other things you might hear. If I can't do it right, I'd rather not do it at all. And here's the translation. If it's not perfect in your client's mind, they believe that something bad is going to happen. And that survival instinct kicks in and prevents them from taking the necessary steps, because if they launch something and they put it out there, they might lose their head. Not really, but that's the way that they feel. So this is the problem. How do we coach it? Well, here's how we begin to coach it. You got to coach them to help them let go of perfect. Here's that first question. You want to ask what they are actually scared of. Here's the question. What's the worst thing that could happen if this isn't perfect? And what that allows them to do is it allows them to face the fear instead of hiding from it. The funny thing is that if you coach somebody through this question right here, it's if you even have somebody who catastrophizes things. What is the worst thing? Well, it could be this. Well, what's actually most likely going to happen? Well, most likely it's probably going to be here. It's not going to be over here on this extreme, and it's not going to be this, but it's probably going to be somewhere around here. This is what you're able to do, is to take people out of catastrophic thinking and to actually think reasonably about what they can expect and what they can count on in the future. Here's the second question, is that you want to shrink the goal. What would good enough progress look like this week? And what that's going to allow them to do is help them move forward instead of getting stuck. Number 3, you want to let them practice being imperfect. Here's a great question that you can help them with. What's one small thing you could finish even if it's not perfect? And what that does is that action begins to create a momentum in their life. It builds confidence faster than thinking. Listen, you're not going to be able to think yourself into confidence. That's what I want to tell some of you coaches right now. You're just sitting around and you're like, well, I'm going to think, and I'm going to think about what possibly and what could go wrong. Listen, the worst thing that you could do, worst use of your imagination, is to think of everything that could possibly go wrong. The worst use of your imagination is to think of all the bad possibilities instead of everything that could actually go right in your life. It's a terrible use of your imagination. And so thinking in most cases is not going to move us forward. You know what will build confidence is actually doing it. Some of you are like, well, one day when I feel confident enough, then I'm going to start coaching people or whatever. Wrong. You start actually doing it. And when you start doing it and you build a muscle for it, then that's actually where confidence comes from. I tell coaches, when coaches will ask me, when do you think I'll be ready to start? I'm like, dude, you should be coaching people while you're in training. And you should start coaching immediately, because I know this about coaches. The longer you take from certification to actually starting, the less likely it is that you're ever going to do it. Like, it's highly unlikely that you're ever going to start at a certain point, because this is when overthinking has actually taken over. And you have to have a massive effort to deal with how you've actually created and wired your brain for hesitation and overthinking. Here's the last one. The last one is bring it back to purpose. Who does this help when you actually finish it? And what that does is that it shifts the focus from looking right to making an impact. Final thoughts. Perfectionism isn't strength. It's actually fear that's dressed up as hard work. And when clients stop trying to prove they're good enough, they finally get to build something real, and they get to rest instead of revising and all of those things. And they get to begin to enjoy what they create. Those of you who have not gotten trained and certified yet, here's what our fast track certification looks like. Your next opportunity is Saturday, November 22nd. What we do is that we have taken the best of our training and we've boiled it down into 12 hours. We go 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Pacific. That's 9 to 9 Central, 10 to 10 Eastern. And what we've done is that we have gone and we've taken all the best out of our life coach certification course, and we've created a Simulive experience. You get a full 12-hour Saturday training. It brings you through all of the core modules. You're going to get all of your brandable templates, including coaching agreements, client welcome pack. You're going to need all that onboarding stuff that usually takes at least 100 hours of development and hundreds of dollars, when it's fully brandable. So you can actually change the color scheme, you can change the fonts, you can change the logo, all of those other things. You're also going to get a 6-tool coaching tool starter kit. You're going to get hundreds of question samples. Obviously, you're going to earn your life coach certification and get a certificate. And we're also going to bring you back on Tuesdays for a live Tuesday night coach training. On a Saturday, it's a Simulive experience. Except for session 7, I come out live. That way I'm able to answer some questions for you and to cross some T's and dot some I's. But I know sometimes on a Saturday, you're like, man, I've got more questions after you go along. Well, you can get in to all of the videos self-paced at the end of the weekend, but you're also going to get invited back for Tuesday nights. We have some weeks that we only do training that looks like practicing. So if you want to get practice under your belt, you do have assignments that you still have to knock out after you've completed your training that day. You can find homework buddies that are in the room on that Saturday, or you can find them in the successive weeks afterwards. There are 7 powerful sessions that we go through. It's Foundations of Coaching. We help you understand what coaching is versus every other helping role. We look at the nuts and bolts of what is actually included in a dynamic coaching session, and we give you 2 coaching conversational models. We have 2 sessions on how to listen on a transformational level, and we also talk about how to help clients get extraordinary results. What does goal setting look like? How does accountability work? How to ask powerful questions. That last session is a session that's worth thousands of dollars in and of itself, because what I show you are what the coaches do that actually have 6-figure practices. I want you to get started right, know how to do those things well so that you can get clients. And again, Tuesday night live coach training, you're going to get invited to every week. It's a $3,500 value. The cost is only $195. You can jump into the description of this video and you can get enrolled in about 90 seconds. Again, that's going to be November 22nd. It is a Saturday. That way you can knock all of that out before Thanksgiving. Now, for some of you, you want to do the self-paced course. We still have our life coach certification course that is fully self-paced. And it is those 7 core modules that I mentioned just a while ago. And the way that we've structured this is that you have 24/7 access to your course so that you can set your own schedule. Now, what we also include is optional live Tuesday night coach training that also enables you to listen to the sessions live, to ask questions. Also, there's some weeks that we just do coaching practice so that you can get feedback. And there's live Q&As, because we're not just a school for you to download your certificate. Some of those actually are out there where you just kind of like watch some videos, you have no interaction with anybody, and then you download a certificate. No, we're a fully accredited program. So we're looking for applied, demonstrated competency in what we do. And we're not out here just, hey, download your stuff or whatever. Every week, I am with you live on Tuesday nights so that you're one Zoom call away from a connection. Or you can email or something like that. But we want to connect with you. And we're always going to invite you back for continuing education and those things. Everything that's included in the Life Coach Certification course is 30 hours of training that includes your live calls, Q&As, role-playing. It enables you to connect with our coaching community. That is also going to include all your onboarding documents that are fully editable and brandable. Your coaching tool starter kit, a free listing on lifecoachmatch.com, which is a top Google searched life coach directory. And obviously, you're going to get your certificate. It's a $3,500 value that's going to allow you to step into coaching mastery, give you credibility, allow you to live into purpose and freedom without giving you debt. Why are we only $195? Because we don't have a sales team that we're paying to do all of these things. We cut out all of the overhead, which is with administrative costs and everything else. Once upon a time, I worked in higher education. I know how much money is spent on all of this other stuff that has nothing to do with your education. So that's one thing. But most people don't know that in coach training schools that are charging $3,500, $7,000, $10,000, $14,000, half of your money is going to a closer where they're just going to hard close you and they're going to get you on a payment plan or whatever. And you're going to start your coaching career all the way up to here with a lot of debt. And we're not going to do that to you. You'll pay this off with your first coaching client. You know, you can do that literally in your first hour of coaching someone. That's what our commitment is to you. That link to get enrolled is in the description of this video. We would love for you to get enrolled because it'll only take you about 90 seconds to do it. We've taken all your excuses away. You can set your own schedule. You can spend time with us live. We have a lot of support. We have every tool that you need to be able to get started. And then there's a Saturday program if you're just wanting to knock everything out on a Saturday. We've thought of all these things because we have been in the same shoes as you. And I'm not going to allow you to get in debt like this, like I was as a coach, because it's completely unnecessary. And so link is inside the description of this video so that you can get enrolled. All right, who do I need to say hello to? Susan's joining us from the Palm Desert. I think I said hi to Susan earlier. Diana is joining us from Michigan. Linda is joining us from California. Tammy is joining us from Tampa, Florida. I was actually just sitting down to take my certification exam. All right, good. Well, listen, everybody, what we are going to do is that we are going to put this video on replay. And so if you want to, like, if you joined us late, you can always hit play. You can bring it back or whatever. But that's what we're going to do. I hope that you'll get enrolled. It'll take you 90 seconds. You can join us for Tuesday night live training tomorrow night over Zoom. So listen, I appreciate you guys all immensely. Have a great rest of your week and take care.